So in this video, I want to break down exactly what I've learned and what I've seen by generating anywhere from 15 to 20 million for our customers and our clients over the past year or so. I've seen a few things that are routinely staples in the clients or customers' businesses that enable them to generate such high numbers. You know, if you run an agency right now, this is going to apply directly to you because it will give you insight in terms of what to look out for in the clients in which you bring on board for your agency. Because if the clients have these things in place, your ads will be tremendously successful if you obviously have a good ad strategy. But you may have a good ad strategy. If you sign the wrong client who doesn't follow what I'm about to show you in this video, you won't be able to get the results. It's as simple as that, no matter how good your ads are. It's really, really important that you sign the right client. And so as I say, what I'm gonna go through in this video is 3 main ideas that I see in businesses that absolutely crush it in our clients' businesses as well as our customers' businesses. And so this really applies to you, for your agency, for the clients in which you sign, but also for your agency itself, actually growing your own agency. And even if you build a SaaS business or an e-commerce business or whatever it is, any type of business, these 3 things apply to every single business, period. So let's jump into it. Now, one thing that's important to note is that they all tie in together. So one thing that's really important to note here is that all 3 points tie directly into each other. So one of the points without the other 2 points, it won't work. 2 of the points without the other third, again, it's not going to work. They all tie in together. And so obviously needless for me to say, these aren't in any particular order, but once I get to the end of the video, I explain each point individually, you'll see how they all tie in together. Let's start out with the most broad point, and that is the product. So you may click out of this video right now because you may think, oh yeah, like whatever, like of course, obviously you need a good product. But let me break it down for you in terms of the importance of having a strong product. If you run ads, right, and you're trying to, you run ads to a certain group of people on Facebook, on Google, on TikTok, on whatever, and the client's product is something that just nobody wants. Well, guess what? It does not matter if it's you running those ads, if it's the best advertiser in the world running those ads. That business will not be able to generate results because guess what? Nobody wants their product. Nobody is going to buy something that they just don't want. Nobody's going to buy something that doesn't appeal to them in any way, shape, or form. Or nobody's gonna buy something that, for example, they've already got, right? So that kind of ties into the niches that are very, very saturated. If you go into a saturated niche, right, or if you bring a client on board and their business is selling a product in or a service in an extremely saturated niche, guess what? Nobody's gonna buy it because most likely they've either already got the product or they've had the product in the past, they've tried the service in the past, and they have whatever their thoughts are on it, right? But guess what? Nobody's gonna buy because they've probably already got the product. So why would they buy your client's product? They just won't. It's as simple as that, right? And so that's a really important point to know and understand, is like the saturation side of things. But also, as I say, if it's just a product that nobody cares for and there's not a need for that product, nobody's gonna buy. So it's gonna make your life extremely difficult as an agency owner if you sign a client who sells a product that nobody wants. And it's also obviously if you're, if maybe you run your own e-com business right now, you're trying to build your own SaaS company, whatever it may be, this is the number one thing. Your product, your service, whatever it is, has to solve a genuine issue and it has to actually fulfill on the promise. So you may come out to the market with a product, or your client may have a product or a service that resonates with people. People are interested in it, right? But if the product doesn't have the ability to fulfill on what the offer or the claim is, then again, the business will not grow and your ads will not work long-term. Guaranteed. The number one way to see whether a client's got a good product or not, or yourself if you got a good product or service or not, is just to see what happens if you actually turned all your ads off, right? Like turn ads off and just see what happens. Good businesses can grow without ads running. We currently, for the agency, we don't have any ads running, yet we're still routinely booking in calls and we're still growing without any ads running, and we're not doing any outbound at the moment. How is that? Well, it's because we got such a good service that the word gets out. People find our funnels, people find us, right? Because the word gets out that we actually deliver on what we say. We're actually one of the few agencies in the space that actually deliver results. We genuinely, deliver on what we claim, on what we offer to clients. It's the same thing with e-commerce businesses. See, some e-com businesses out there doing 50, 60K a month, they're not running any ads. That is a great sign of a good product when it's able to grow on its own. And then from there, when you strap ads to a business of that nature, the results are just absolutely insane, right? The results are just crazy good because now you're basically strapping a rocket to an already growing business, right? You're not trying to use ads to turn a business around. You're trying to use ads to scale the business up, to increase the business's growth, not necessarily to turn the business around. Because at the end of the day, if the business cannot grow without ads on, they're probably not going to grow with ads on. It's just as simple as that. So product is the number one key to building any business. And really this kind of ties into my next point, which is offers. So I see many times agency owners, media buyers, whatnot, they focus way too much on the technical side of media buying. And then they're like, dumbfounded as to why they've not got any results for their clients, or if they're running it for their own business, whatever. They're not able to get any results with their ads. But yet they're focusing on like what budget they should use and what big cap strategy they should do and whether they should do ABO or CBO and all this stuff, like the super technical side to advertising. And at the end of the day, the technical side to advertising may have a 5-10% impact. But what has a 90%, 95% impact on your ads is the offer that you're actually running, right? It's the most important thing when it comes to advertising, because obviously whatever your offer is, that then depicts what your creative is based around. That then depicts what your copy is based around. That then depicts what, the way in which the funnel is structured and what the funnel is based around. It's all based off of the offer. Now, this is where we start to see things tying together. What's the offer based off of? The offer is based off the product. The offer is based off the service. So we always start with the product and service. And once you've got a really good product or service, you can make some great offers because you're so confident in the product or the service. And so that's why offer is kind of like the next stage down, right? And the offer is what gets people in the door. The offer is what people come to see. The offer is, it's what piques people's interests, right? So for example, just look at it in this way, right? If you have an amazing product, that's perfect, that's amazing. But there's an issue initially with that, right? If you just have an amazing product and you don't have a really good offer, well, there's an issue because nobody can see from the outside looking in how good your product actually is, right? Because they don't have access to the product or the service as of yet, right? So it's almost like your product or service is like behind a curtain. And what you need to do on the front end is to get the prospect or the customer to open the curtain up, right? So they can see how good the product or service is. But if you're unable to open the curtain, you can have the best products in the world, but nobody knows about it because nobody's looking at it. Nobody's receiving the product or the service. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get people to open that curtain up and actually receive the product, receive the service? That's the offer, because the offer is like the thing on the front end, and as I said before, it's what people come to see. It's what piques people's interest. As soon as you pique somebody's interest, you make them curious. They're gonna want to see behind the curtain. They're gonna want to open up, right? But if you don't have a good offer on the front end, nobody's gonna do that, and you're not gonna get any clicks on the ads, and that obviously means then from there on in, you're not gonna get any purchases. It's as simple as that. So the product is the most important thing, and then obviously the offer is based on the product or the service. And the third point here, which really ties all of this together, right, is the customer, is the prospect, right? The number one way to run ads at the highest level, and we see this across every single client, is to have a truly deep understanding of the customer, of the client, right? Of whoever the ideal audience is, the target market. If you're able to have a deep-rooted understanding of that avatar, your advertising will become so much more effective. Why? Well, if you know exactly, specifically what your ideal customer, whoever it is you're trying to go after, if you know specifically, right, what motivates them, what resonates with them, what they like, what they don't like, what they hate, right, what repels them, what attracts them. If you know all of these things about the person you're trying to run ads to, just hit on their pain points, write copy in a way that really, really hits on their pain points, and position the product or the service as their dream outcome. If you know exactly what their dream outcome is, you can very easily tie the product or service into that dream outcome. And if it's truly what they want, if it's truly what they deeply desire, they're gonna take action. They're gonna move forward. They're gonna go to the next step. They're gonna buy. They're gonna do whatever it is that you're optimizing for. But you wouldn't be able to write ads and construct creatives in that way without truly knowing the customer, without truly understanding who you're running ads to. At the end of the day, let me just put it in these super basic terms. If you truly know what somebody deeply desires, and you position the product in a way of it fulfilling those deep desires, the person will buy. As long as the price to value ratio, so given that what they deeply desire is more valuable to them than the price in which you're charging, they will buy. It's as simple as that, but you need to know and understand who the customer is. Now, let's kind of loop back to the first point of the product. If you're able to position the product or the service in a way that fulfills the customer's deep desires, and again, provided the price to value ratio checks out, quote unquote, they'll buy. But if the product doesn't fulfill on what they on that deep desire, on what you sold them on, if the product isn't a good product, it isn't good quality, the service isn't a good service, well, this is where the issue comes, because number one, you're going to get refunds, and number two, and more importantly, I would say, is the flywheel of word of mouth won't take effect. And that's when your ads for, you know, your direct business, for your agency, for your own SaaS company or e-commerce company or whatever, or your clients' companies, that's when their ads start to massively tank, because now you're not going to be able to spend as much per customer, because as soon as a customer buys once, they're never going to buy again. That means their lifetime value, that means that the AOV is going to be much lower, which means it's going to cap you in terms of what you can spend to acquire a customer. And as the saying goes, the company who can spend the most to acquire a customer usually is going to win, right? So it's going to cap you in terms of what you can spend on the front end. And so that means that you're going to be limited to the scale, right, in which you can go to. And also you're going to be capped in terms of your ROAS, because the next person, if they can spend more, Facebook or Google or whoever is going to give them all the customers, right? Because they'll just outbid you. And so from there, you're not going to get as many customers and your ROAS are going to drive down. That's bad in and of itself. But what's more important is, as I said before, the compound effect of word of mouth marketing will not take effect, which means you won't be able to scale without ads on. And the best businesses in the world can grow and can scale without having ads running. You can now see how it all goes back to the beginning of having a good product, because quite frankly, everything is based off of the product. For example, the ideal customer. If the product solves an issue, right, which nobody really cares about, well, instantly the offer becomes nowhere near as powerful, because it's like this offer based around like a problem that nobody really cares about. People don't value the solution to that problem nowhere near as much, which means you can't really charge as much, which means it's going to be much harder to run ads. The number one way to increase your ROAS, your ROI on your advertising, is just to make more per customer, right? So basically the number one way to increase your return from your ads is to make more from those who are currently purchasing or who are going to purchase, rather than trying to increase the volume of purchasers, right? So for example, if you get 100 customers a month or 100 new sales a month or new whatever a month, the number one way to double your business is not to go from 100 to 200 sales a month. The number one way to double your business in that case is go from 100 customers at $1,000 each to 100 customers at $2,000 each, right? So make more from those who are currently buying, rather than trying to increase the volume. Now, if you're able to do both simultaneously, that's when you get the compounded growth, right? But again, you're not going to be able to do that if the product doesn't work, if nobody wants to look behind the curtain because the offer doesn't attract people, and if you aren't able to position the offer and the product in a way that speaks directly to the customers. Now, how do you do that latter part? Well, you do it by truly understanding the customer and just giving them what they want. If you give somebody what they want, they're going to bite your hand off at it, right? It's like dangling the carrot. If you just say, yeah, click this and we'll do this, they're gonna go to the next step. They're gonna keep chasing. They're gonna keep chasing, because you're saying that you'll give them exactly what they want, right? You'll take away their pains, but you'll only be able to do that if you truly understand the customer. So again, you know, people talk to me about like iOS 14, how are you combating it? How are you doing this? Like, how are you still getting results? I put a story up on my Instagram the other day. You know, one of our clients so far this year, it's currently August, they're at 2 million this year, and we're going to double their entire business in terms of what they made last year. It's like, how are you going to, and by the way, we're 90% of their traffic, and it's all through advertising. It's like, how are we doubling their entire business this year all through advertising when the whole iOS 14 saga is rolled out? How are we doing that? Well, it's because we don't really rely that much on data. Now, obviously there is data involved. Yes, tracking is becoming an issue. Yes, it is, for sure. And we're implementing things to combat it and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we've never been a data-driven agency. We've always focused on the customer and, the psychology to advertising rather than the technical approach to advertising, because that, quite frankly, never does as well. I'll happily go up against an agency who uses AI technology to run their ads, and I'm 100% confident that we would beat them every single time. Because at the end of the day, it's a customer, it's a person who's buying, right? It's a person who's buying. It's another human being who is buying the product or the service. And so we're trying to speak to that person, right? That's who we're trying to speak to. That's who you're trying to convert. It's not a bot on the other end. It's not a machine on the other end, right? So the best way in which we've found to run ads is a human to human approach, not a machine to human approach. It just never does as well. It's as simple as that. So they're the three biggest things that we've found, or that we've been able to identify in amongst our customers and our clients over the last year, 2 years, that has really built some crazy sized businesses, and we're as I say, we're 70, 80, 90% accountable for those numbers, and it's all through ads. And these three things are like the number 3 things that we see that enable our ads to be as successful as they are. You may have clicked on this video to see like the number 1 way to run ads specifically, and like it has nothing to do with the business you're running the ads for. Hate to say it, but the business, the client's business, if you run an agency, like the business itself probably plays, I would say, a 70% role in your ability to get results for them through ads. It's just the truth. You may have an ego and you may want to take more, you may want to take more credit than that. You may say, oh no, our ads are like 100%, or that client's success is 100% due to us. It's actually not, right? Because their product plays a huge part in it. Their market plays a huge part in it. Their sales funnels play a huge part in it, and your ads really just strap a rocket to their business. Now, yes, they wouldn't be able to achieve the results that they're achieving with you if you weren't there, for sure. But the reason you're able to achieve the results you're achieving is because primarily of their business, primarily. So as I say, they're the 3 things: offer, product, and the customer. Always focus on those 3 things, whether you're trying to build your agency, trying to build a client's business, you're trying to build your own SaaS company, e-commerce company, whatever it is. They're like the 3 things that I focus on now, no matter what. My kind of like 5-10 year goal is to build a SaaS company, and have that 100, 200, 300, 500, maybe $1 billion exit, right? You're never going to be able to do that with an agency, just very transparently, but you can do it with SaaS companies and whatnot. So that's kind of where I want to go. And that's the 3 things that I'll be focusing on: product, customer, and offer. More so probably in the specific way of, the specific flow of, should it be offer first, product first, this, whatever. It's probably going to be, it will be customer, product, then offer, because the customer kind of depicts the product, right? The customers tell you what product they need, right? For example, with Alex Becker, he's a really good example of this. He's seen a huge issue in the media buying space, which was tracking. So then from there, by focusing on the customer, by focusing on the market first, seeing what issues were evident, from there he then built the product. And then because he built such a great product, from there he was able to simply build a great offer, right? So it's like customer, product, offer. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on why we've been able to achieve such crazy results for clients, and we continue to do so even in a post iOS 14 world. It's 100% down to the strategy that we use, the approach that we use, but it's also down to the clients that we work with, which is why it's so important to make sure that you bring on only qualified clients for your business, for your agency, if you run an agency, which 90% of my audience do. So as always, hope you found this video valuable. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment the word product in the description below if you watch this video from start to finish. If you did watch this video from start to finish, you are the one who's going to get the most value out of these videos. If you only watch 2 minutes of it, you're probably not going to get the full story, which means you're not going to benefit that much from watching it. So comment the word product in the description below. If you watch this video from start to finish, I'm very curious to see who you are. And with that being said, as I mentioned before, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.